Welcome back to the Southern Unsolved Mystery Series. We have covered a lot of states thus far. From Florida to Virginia, we have seen no shortage of tragic and unsolved cold cases. Today, I am looking at a few strange cold cases from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I have many friends and even some family in Kentucky, so this was a state I was interested in diving into. And it seems, according to my recent polls, a lot of you are from the area and recommended many cases. It is my hope with this series to help spread awareness on cold cases that did not get their fair share of media coverage. If you have any cases you would like me to investigate, submit them at swampdweller.net or the comments down below. Thank you. Number 1. Randy Lee Sellers. This first case comes from a city in Kentucky that does not actually exist anymore. Visalia, Kentucky was an exceedingly small town in Kenton County. It was hard to find any real meaningful information about the area, but from what I could tell from local graveyards is that the town was founded sometime around the early to mid-1800s. However, in 2006, the city was officially dissolved by the government. The city only has 111 residents with 45 households. With that said, we can now get into the sad and rather strange disappearance of Randy Lee Sellers. Just like Visalia, there was not much information online about Randy Sellers. Much of what I could find all really pertained to his disappearance. What I could piece together from this information was that the 1980 Kenton County Fair had come to a city not far from Visalia called Independence. This fair is a rather large event for the area, with many residents coming out to show off their livestock and art. Randy seemed to be enjoying the occasion with a few drinks, according to Kenton County Police. Randy allegedly got into an altercation with another patron at the fair and was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and public intoxication. The officers on scene seemingly believed Randy also was under the influence of drugs. He even allegedly hit one of the officers after they had put him in the car. The police went on to state that they had dropped off Randy roughly about a mile from his family's home in Visalia. Now, details about why he was dropped off so far from his home seem to vary depending on where you look. Some sources state he was unclear with the directions to his home. Others say he was dropped off somewhere else entirely. Regardless of these conflicting details, Randy Sellers never made it home that night, and has subsequently never been heard from again. The strange details surrounding Randy Sellers' disappearance do not end there though. Investigators began their search by proclaiming Randy had likely drowned. They claimed that the set of boot prints found by the Licking River matched those of a family member's hiking boots, which to me is a rather odd conclusion to come to, considering the relative is not the one who is missing. The argument could be made that he borrowed their boots, but I digress. Investigators also mentioned that they noticed what seemed to be slide marks, indicating someone or something fell into the river. A search of the river seemingly turned up nothing though. Investigators now believe those footprints and slide marks were made by people searching for Randy. To make things even more convoluted, former drifter and convicted murderer Donald Leroy Evans claimed he had picked up Randy along Kentucky Route 177. He claimed he shot him in the head and buried his body somewhere in the KINCAID Lake State Park in Pendleton County, Kentucky in 1980. While these confessions were seemingly convincing and Evans was found guilty of the murder of a young child in Mississippi, nothing could be found to corroborate his claims about Randy Sellers. A search of the KINCAID Lake State Park was conducted in 1994 after Evans drew a crude but oddly accurate map of where he buried the body. But after a tireless search, investigators turned up nothing. Evans was never charged in connection with Randy Sellers' disappearance. After receiving numerous tips, investigators resumed their search for Randy Sellers in 2006. No clues have been found yet, and Randy's disappearance remains unsolved. If you or anyone you may know have any information or tips that can lead investigators to locating Randy Sellers, please contact Kenton County Police at 606-356-3895. You can always remain anonymous. Number 2. Alice Jefferson. This next case comes from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Alice Jefferson and her husband, Lee Andrew Jefferson, a soldier who was stationed at the Fort Worth station between March 1973 and July 1975, they had 2 children who were just 5 and 6 at the time, and Alice would suddenly vanish. To clarify a bit before I continue, Lee Jefferson was not the father of Alice's children. To begin the timeline of Alice's seemingly abrupt disappearance, we need to begin with the seemingly skewed time and day of when she went missing. It has been up for debate for decades now, but most seem to conclude it occurred in 1975. The day, as the children can remember, was rather normal. They went off to school and everything seemed to be fine. But on this day, they remember their mom did not show up to pick them up as usual, so the kids walked home to find all the doors locked. The kids claimed to have beaten and yelled at the door for several minutes before Lee Jefferson finally let them inside. He was allegedly agitated, out of breath, and sweaty. He claimed he had been sleeping, and that is why it took him so long to answer the door. For some reason, Lee would not let the kids go into their room though. He never gave them a reason as to why. It was as if he was hiding something in there. Alice's car was still parked in the driveway. All of her clothing and valuables were seemingly untouched as well. Alice would never be seen or heard from again. Just a few days after the children last saw their mother, Lee packed their bags and drove them to their grandparents' house in Little Rock, Arkansas. He would never return, and the children never saw him again. Lee claims he reported Alice as missing to the authorities, but no evidence can be shown to prove this ever actually happened. According to Alice's family members and friends, she would never just up and leave her children alone with someone who was not family. They strongly believe foul play was involved here, and they think Lee Jefferson has something to do with it. A proper missing persons report and investigation did not begin until 2013, nearly 40 years later. This tragic story needs an ending. Closure is a right for all families. Alice has brown hair and brown eyes. She was about 5 feet tall and weighed around 110 pounds. She was about 21 years old at the time and had an open-faced gold crown on one of her front teeth. She was known to wear a wig on occasion. If you knew Alice Jefferson or have any information as to where she may be located, please contact the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Unit at 270-798-7113. Number 3. Brooklyn Farthing. This last case was sent to me by multiple viewers, and after checking into it, I knew I had to share it. This case is from Madison County, Kentucky, and takes place in June 2013. To begin, Brooklyn Farthing was 18 years old and was dropped off at a house party with her sister Paige Farthing and their cousin. The trio seemingly enjoyed themselves until Paige and their cousin wanted to leave at around 8 p.m. Brooklyn, however, said she would stay and sleep at a friend's house. She had even brought an overnight bag with her. That plan, though, would never come to fruition, it seems. The party continued, and later that evening, a handful of witnesses claimed they saw Brooklyn get into a vehicle with 2 young men. The make and model are unknown to my knowledge. The driver of the vehicle apparently knew Brooklyn's ex-boyfriend. Police said the 3 drove out to a spot on Floyd Branch Road to see some horses that the driver took care of. Then after this, the driver took his friend home and took Brooklyn to his house. Sometime around 4 a.m., Brooklyn texted her sister Paige asking for a ride home. Sadly though, Paige did not have a license and their cousin had been drinking. Police then say Brooklyn texted her ex-boyfriend and asked for a ride home when he got off work at around 7 a.m. Then, at 4:26 a.m., she sent some very troubling messages. Things like, "I'm scared and please hurry." There would be radio silence until suddenly, at 5:30 a.m., one last text came from Brooklyn's phone. The message is weird, as it said she was going to party out in Rockcastle County and telling her ex, never mind. This was the last time anyone would ever hear from Brooklyn Farthing. Now, Brooklyn's family knew where she was last and immediately, the next afternoon, contacted the man who drove her to his home. He apparently said Brooklyn was acting weird and standoffish at his house, so he went to the horses on Floyd Branch Road to relieve stress. When he last saw Brooklyn, she was smoking a cigarette sitting on his couch. The family claims the man said he returned home at 7 a.m. and saw his couch was on fire, prompting him to quickly call the fire department. According to relatives, Brooklyn's overnight bag and shoes were found in the home, but her cell phone and Brooklyn herself have never been found. A giant search ensued for multiple days after this. Hundreds of volunteers, scent dogs, cadaver dogs, river divers, and more were deployed all over the area. Nothing was ever really found though. To this current day, investigators have not named any one person of interest. No evidence has been presented either, and Kentucky State Police remain adamant that this is an open and active case. In 2019, however, some troubling news bubbled up in Madison County once again. Two young blonde women went missing in an eerily similar fashion as Brooklyn. They had all suddenly vanished from the same general area. Savannah Spurlock, 22 years old, disappeared after leaving a local bar on January 4th, 2019. On January 28th, 2019, Amanda Bailey, 26 years old, went missing after reportedly meeting with an ex-boyfriend. Her body was found on a farm days later. Much speculation has circled about these cases being linked, but nothing official has been stated thus far. A $14,000 reward has been offered for information leading to Brooklyn's whereabouts. Anyone who can help is asked to send a message on Facebook to find Brooklyn Farthing, or contact Kentucky State Police at 859-623-2404. Thanks for tuning in to the Southern Unsolved Mystery Series once again. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like as it helps me out a ton. The more likes this video gets, the more YouTube promotes it in the algorithm, and the more eyes we can get on these cases, the better chance we have of potentially solving them. If you have a story that you would like to share in a future podcast episode, or have a case that you would like me to look into for a future Unsolved Mystery episode, please be sure to submit them at swampdweller.net or the email you can find in the description down below. It's much appreciated. If you're listening to this on iTunes or another podcast platform, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, as that truly helps us a ton over there. The more ratings we can get, the more we'll be able to grow. If you guys would like to support the channel outside of hitting that like button, giving us a 5-star rating, or possibly subscribing to us on YouTube, maybe check out the merch store. I have everything from t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, and more. If you're on the go but don't have YouTube Premium, but still want to listen to your favorite scary stories from the swamp anywhere you go, you can download them absolutely free from iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, and just about everywhere else you find your favorite podcasts online. Thank you guys as always, and I will see you soon with another creepy video.